John Adams' Letters from the Front podcast for January 1918. This podcast looks at life in World War I through the letters of John Adams, who was 23 when he joined up in September 1914. He served with the 9th Service Battalion, Royal Irish Fusiliers, and was involved in many significant events on the Western Front, particularly Passchendaele. These are his words, read by his grandchildren and narrated by his great-grandchildren. John Adams entered the last year of the war back with his regiment. While the generals in Whitehall may have had a glimmering that the end of the war was near, I wonder if the men in the front knew anything about that. In our history section, we look at the history of the Royal Irish Fusiliers in January 1918 and find out where they were and what they were up to. In John Adams' only letter this month, we see that he was worried about his mother's health and that he wanted to go home to see her. And it's interesting to see the way that would happen with a doctor's letter from home and then going to see his CO, Major Brewer. My name is Mark Adams, and John Adams was my grandfather.
With John Adams now back to duties, the start of 1918 was quiet for the 9th Service Battalion of the Royal Irish Fusiliers. They were out of the trenches and resting in bothes just outside Amiens. The battalion was receiving reinforcements and now had 39 officers, 868 men, 39 horses and 16 mules. The weather had been thick with snow for a few weeks, which made the 3-day march to St Quentin harder after the first week of January. They were meeting with the rest of 108th Brigade, who would be in reserve, with the rest of the Ulster Division, the 107th and 109th Brigade, relieving the French 6th Division. When the snow finally began to thaw, the defences suffered from the amount of water and were therefore in much need of repair. The next few weeks were hard work for everyone, rebuilding the existing trenches and digging new ones. The front line was generally quiet, with both sides sending a few raiding parties to identify enemy positions. A new chaplain relieved the Reverend Mays, who returned to a parish in County Armagh. The Reverend Howard Bally was from Lancashire and became the only non-Irish chaplain to serve with the 9th RAF. By the end of the month, the 9th RAF were moved forward to the trenches with the rest of the 108th Brigade. The enemy held the line about 100 yards away. This tour was relatively quiet, where patrols went unchallenged and they saw little of the enemy. They would remain entrenched until the 4th of February.
Sunday, 20th January 1918, British Expeditionary Force.
My dear mother, I now take the pleasure of writing a few lines to you, hoping that this will find yourself and all at home in good health, as this leaves myself at present. I am looking for a letter from home to know how you are. I did not get a letter now since I left farming, so you may guess I am very uneasy about you, as the last letter I had from Annie said that you were ill. I only wish I knew how you were. I cannot sleep at night thinking of you. I wrote to you from base saying I was going up the line to join the battalion, but I have not got that length yet. I did not like to send my address of any of the places I was in. I was so short of time in any of them. For you never know when you are changed, and then the letters are following you all around the place. But I think I will send this one in the chance that I will be here until I get a letter, and if I am not here when it comes, they will send it on for me. And dear mother, there is one thing I should like you would do, and that is if you're no better. If you would get the doctor to give your certificate that you are serious and that you should like to see me. If you would then send it to me, I would show it to the CO and I should stand a good chance of getting home to see you. I should not like anything to happen to you and me out here. You had better register the letter you send it in, as I would get it sooner. I hope I have made this clear to you. There is no harm in it. All you've got to do is say to the doctor that you would like to see me and get him to write it, and then Annie to send it to me, and I shall do the rest. I do not think Major Brew would refuse me. I need not tell you what my thoughts are like each night. and getting no letters makes me worse. I really do not know what to think, but I hope you are in a good deal better by this time. This is all now as I will close, hoping to hear from you soon, and do not forget what I told you. Goodbye. I remain your loving son, Johnny.
Thank you for listening to John Adams' Letters from the Front podcast. To find out more about John Adams and his family, visit www.johnadams.org.uk/letters. And you can email us with your comments or questions at letters@johnadams.org.uk. You can also follow @JAdamsLetters on Twitter. The history of the 9th Service Battalion Royal Irish Fusiliers during World War I is taken from Blackers Boys. Visit them at www.9thirishfusiliers.co.uk. That's with the number 9, not the letter. Podcasts will be published 100 years after the letters were written, so will be published nearly every month. This has been a Mark's Mess production.